Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Duo Dialogues. It's great to have you with us again.
It really is.
Following on from our deep dive in episode 14,
Oh, yeah.
where we really went deep on thinking in English,
Yeah.
today we're going to be focusing on a closely related skill,
Right.
and that's how to achieve clear and natural English pronunciation.
This is the perfect follow-up
Yeah.
because if you've been working on making that shift to think in English internally,
Yeah,
making sure your spoken English is clear and confident is like, well, it's the natural next step.
it really is.
And it's not just about, sounding polished,
You're right.
although
It does help.
that's a great bonus for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But really, clear pronunciation is the foundation of effective communication.
It really is, yeah.
It impacts every part of your daily life.
Absolutely. And for anyone out there preparing for the IELTS speaking test,
Right.
this is absolutely crucial.
Huge.
Because those examiners, they specifically assess your pronunciation.
Oh, yeah, they do.
It's actually a really key factor in determining your overall score.
For sure.
So our goal today is to give you some really practical techniques
Yeah.
that you can use straight away to sound clearer.
Right.
Reduce those hesitations we all have,
Mm-hmm.
and just project a lot more confidence when you speak.
I think we've all been there,
We have.
fumbling over words
Oh, yeah.
so many times.
Especially in a high-pressure situation.
Exactly.
Like, a job interview or something.
It can feel so much harder.
Oh, yeah.
But we've been looking into a lot of different resources.
We have.
And it's clear that there are some pronunciation challenges that come up again and again for English language learners.
Over and over again, yeah.
So why don't we start by looking at some of the most common errors that people make?
That's a great place to start.
One very common one is confusing similar sounds.
Right.
Like, for example, the sound and the es sound.
Okay.
So you might hear someone say tree when they actually mean to say three, or the other way around.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that often this happens because
Yeah.
your native language might only have one sound
Right.
that's sort of similar to both of these English sounds.
Oh, I see.
So let's say your language uses a sound that's close to S for both S and S.
Okay.
Your mouth hasn't actually learned how to make the very specific movements for the sound.
Right, because it's never needed to.
Exactly. And that the sound,
Yeah.
it requires you to put your tongue gently between your teeth
Right?
and let the air pass over it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So focusing on that physical action
Right.
and really feeling that air,
Yeah.
that's key to getting it right.
I can see how that would be tricky,
It can be,
to retrain your mouth to do that.
for sure.
It really is like learning a new physical skill.
It is.
And it's like, another pair of sounds
Yeah.
that often trips people up is V and W. Like, you get wary instead of very.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Or vine, when they mean wine.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be that learners aren't always aware of the differences in how you use your muscles to make those sounds?
Absolutely. They are subtle.
They are, yeah.
But with the vase sound, you have to
Yeah.
gently touch your top teeth
Okay,
to your bottom lip.
right.
And that creates a kind of friction as the air comes out.
I see.
But with W,
Yeah.
you round your lips almost like you're making a tiny O shape.
Oh, okay.
And your tongue isn't as important for this one.
Interesting.
So again,
Yeah.
being aware of those physical movements
Well,
and practicing them on purpose can really help.
So just practicing those tongue and lip placements
Yeah, just simple exercises like that.
can make a big difference.
Huge difference.
That's really clearly explained.
Thanks.
And then another area where I often hear learners struggling
Yeah.
is with syllable stress.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure.
Why is it so important to get that right?
Well, syllable stress is really fundamental in English.
Okay.
It's not just about emphasizing a syllable.
Right.
It can actually change the meaning of a word
Oh, wow.
or the grammatical function.
Really?
Yeah. So, for example,
Okay.
think about the word import.
Right.
If you stress the first syllable, import,
Okay. Import.
that's a verb.
Right.
But if you stress the second syllable, import,
Import.
that's a noun.
Wow. So the same word,
Exactly.
same spelling, could be totally different things depending on how you say it.
Exactly. And we talked about this before.
Yeah.
But there's also photograph
Right.
and photography.
So, yeah.
The stress shifts completely
It does.
to make those two related,
Yeah.
but distinct nouns.
Right.
If you stress the wrong syllable,
Yeah.
it can make even familiar words sound, well,
Foreign.
Yeah, foreign.
Unfamiliar.
And people might not understand what you're trying to say.
So how do we know
Yeah.
which syllable to emphasize?
That's a good question.
It doesn't always seem obvious.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
The best way is to really train your ear
Okay.
by listening to native speakers.
Okay, so lots of listening.
Lots of listening, yeah.
What should we be listening for?
Well, don't just focus on the individual sounds.
Right.
Pay attention to the rhythm
Okay.
and where they put the emphasis within a word,
Right.
and then try to copy those stress patterns.
Oh.
That's so important.
And are there any resources that can help?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
There are lots of online pronunciation websites,
Okay.
and most dictionaries actually show you which syllable is stressed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they use a little symbol to show it.
So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
learning the music of the word.
It is, yeah.
It's not just the sounds.
Yeah,
It's how those sounds fit together.
exactly.
That's a really helpful tip.
I'm glad.
And then let's talk about the pace of speaking.
Okay.
You know, I've met people who speak English so quickly.
I know what you mean.
It's hard to keep up.
Yeah.
And then others who speak so slowly and carefully.
Right?
It almost sounds a bit unnatural.
Yeah, it can.
So what would you say is a good pace to aim for?
I think speaking either too fast or too slow can be a real barrier.
can, yeah.
When someone's rushing,
Yeah,
sounds get lost,
Right.
or they kind of blend together,
right.
and it's just hard to understand.
Yeah, and it's frustrating.
It is. And on the other hand,
Yeah.
if you speak too slowly,
Yeah.
it can disrupt the natural flow of the conversation.
It does, yeah.
And it can even make you sound like you're not very fluent.
Or not confident, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the solution?
Well, a really helpful technique
Yeah.
is something we call the slow and clear method.
Okay, tell me more about this.
So basically, you intentionally slow down your speech,
Okay.
especially when you're practicing,
Right.
and you really focus on saying each sound clearly.
Okay, so it's not about always speaking slowly.
No.
It's more like using that slower pace to train your pronunciation.
Exactly. You use it to get more control over your pronunciation
Oh, I see.
and the rhythm of your speech.
So over time,
Yeah,
your natural pace will just become clearer and easier to understand.
that's the idea.
That makes sense.
Good.
It sounds like a very practical approach.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the common challenges.
Uh-huh.
Let's move on to a structured approach
Okay.
that our listeners can use to improve their pronunciation.
Sounds good.
Where should they start?
Well, a step-by-step approach
Yeah.
can make it seem less overwhelming.
Less scary.
Exactly.
Okay.
So step one is to focus on individual sounds
Right.
that you find particularly difficult.
Got it.
We talked about era
Yeah.
and L and sucks. Those are tough for a lot of people.
They are, yeah.
So spend some time
Okay.
just practicing those sounds
Right?
in isolation.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
warming up individual notes before you play a melody.
I like that analogy.
It's about getting your mouth
Yeah.
and your tongue
Yeah.
and your vocal cords used to making those sounds
Right.
accurately.
So it's like targeted exercises for those specific sounds.
That's a great way to put it.
It really is like training your mouth
It is.
to make those sounds properly.
Yeah, get familiar with how it feels.
Right.
To make them.
Okay, what's step 2?
Step 2 is a technique called shadowing.
Okay.
And this involves listening to a native English speaker.
Okay.
It could be a podcast
Yeah.
or the news
Mm-hmm.
or even just a little bit of a TV show.
Okay.
And you try to copy what they're saying at the
Yeah.
same time as they're saying it.
Word for word.
Word for word, exactly.
I've heard of shadowing,
Okay.
but for someone who hasn't tried it before,
Yeah.
what's the best way to get started?
Well, I would say start small.
Okay.
Just a sentence or two at a time.
Right.
And really focus on copying their intonation,
Their intonation. Okay.
how their voice goes up and down,
Yeah.
their rhythm,
Okay.
and how they pronounce each word.
So you're really trying to match them perfectly.
You are. It might feel a bit awkward at first,
I can imagine.
like you're trying to move in sync with someone,
Yeah.
but it's an incredibly powerful way
Yeah.
to internalize the sounds of English.
To absorb that natural flow.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Good.
So you're really immersing yourself
Yeah,
in the sounds of the language.
you are.
Okay. What's the next step in our guide?
Step 3 is all about building self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Okay.
So record yourself speaking.
Ooh. I don't know about that.
I know it can be a bit strange at first,
It can.
but it's so valuable.
All right.
It lets you hear yourself objectively.
Right.
And then you can compare your recording
Yeah.
to a native speaker saying the same things.
Okay.
That direct comparison can help you spot
Yeah.
any pronunciation differences.
that I might not even realize I'm making.
Yeah.
So it's like getting feedback
Yeah.
that I can then use to improve.
That's the idea.
Okay, I like that.
Good.
What about the final step?
Okay, step 4.
Yeah.
This one might sound a bit technical,
Okay, hit me.
but it's learning about the phonetic alphabet.
Oh, the phonetic alphabet.
Yeah.
I've heard of that.
Okay, so it's basically a system of symbols.
Yeah.
Where each symbol represents a specific sound
Okay.
in English.
So it's kind of like a
Yeah.
code for pronunciation
It is like a secret code.
because English spelling can be so confusing.
It can be, yeah.
You see a word written down
Mm-hmm.
and you have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Exactly.
But with the phonetic alphabet,
Yeah.
each symbol always makes the same sound.
Always.
So if you know a few key symbols,
Yeah.
you can pronounce any word
Exactly.
just by looking it up in a phonetic dictionary.
It gives you so much more precision
I see.
than just guessing from the spelling.
Wow, that's powerful.
It can be really helpful.
Okay, so we have this clear, structured approach.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about how to put this all into practice.
Okay.
What are some exercises that our listeners can try?
Well, let's start with tongue twisters.
Tongue twisters, okay.
They might seem like just a bit of fun,
Right.
but they're actually really good for improving your articulation.
Okay.
You know, they make your mouth muscles work.
So what's a good example?
Well, a classic one is, she sells seashells by the seashore.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Try saying that a few times slowly
All right.
and really focus on each sound.
Okay.
And then you can gradually speed up
Right.
as you get better.
I can feel my tongue getting tied already just thinking about it.
I know, they can be tricky.
What about exercise number 2?
Exercise 2 is reading aloud.
Reading aloud, okay.
Choose something you want to read.
Yeah.
It could be a short story
Okay.
or a news article,
Yeah.
anything in English,
Yeah.
and practice reading it out loud,
Okay.
but do it slowly
Oh.
and focus on pronouncing every word correctly.
So you're not just reading the words,
Yeah.
you're really focusing on the sounds.
You are, and pay attention to the syllable stress.
Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
active reading,
It is, yeah,
not passive.
exactly.
Okay, and what's our third practical exercise?
So exercise 3 is the shadowing challenge.
The shadowing challenge.
We talked about it before.
Yeah.
This time, find some audio or video of a
Okay.
native English speaker.
Okay.
It could be an interview
Yeah.
or part of a podcast
Uh-huh.
or even just a short video clip,
Right.
and really try to repeat what they're saying
Yeah.
exactly as they're saying it.
Okay.
Pay close attention to their rhythm
Yeah.
and intonation
Right,
and
yeah.
pronunciation.
Okay, so it's really about
Uh,
tuning into those details.
it is.
I think these are all great exercises
But
that our listeners can start using right away.
I hope so.
But beyond clarity,
Yeah.
how can someone sound more natural and confident when they speak?
Well, there are a few key things that can make a big difference.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so one is using contractions.
Contraction.
Native speakers use them all the time.
Right.
So instead of saying, I am going,
Yep.
they say, I'm going.
I'm going,
Or
right?
instead of, it is, they say, it's ook.
Yeah.
Using
That's it.
contractions will instantly make your English sound more natural.
It's such a small thing,
It is
but it makes a big difference.
huge.
Oh, no.
Another important thing is rhythm and intonation.
Rhythm and intonation.
Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah, with syllable stress.
Right. Well, English has a particular melody.
It does.
Certain words and syllables
Yeah.
are stressed more than others. If you
Oh.
don't vary your pitch and rhythm,
Yeah.
your speech can sound flat.
Monotonous.
Yeah, monotonous.
So listen to how native speakers do it.
Yeah.
And try to copy that.
Exactly.
You really do have to tap into the musicality
Yeah, you do.
of the language.
You do.
And here's a tip I bet you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Try smiling when you speak.
Smiling, really.
I know it might sound weird,
It does.
but when you smile,
Yeah,
it actually helps to open up your vocal cords,
it does.
and that can make your voice sound clearer,
It can, yeah.
and it also makes you sound more confident and approachable.
And friendly.
Yeah, it's not just about the technical stuff. It's
Ah.
about how you present yourself,
Uh-huh.
even your body language.
Definitely.
That's great advice.
I'm glad you like it.
So to really make these improvements stick,
Yeah.
what kind of daily routine would you recommend?
Consistency is key.
Consistency. Okay.
Make a habit of listening to native English speakers every day.
Every day.
You
Okay.
could listen to podcasts
Yeah.
or TED Talks,
Uh-huh.
watch movies,
Right.
listen to music,
Anything.
anything, yeah.
As long as it's in English.
As long as it's in English.
And what should we be paying attention to?
Pay attention to their pronunciation. their rhythm,
Yeah.
their intonation.
Right.
And then I would say spend at least 10 minutes each day
10 minutes now.
doing some focused pronunciation practice.
Right.
You could read aloud,
Right.
do some shadowing,
Yeah.
work on tongue twisters.
Even short bursts of practice can make a big difference.
They really can.
Over time.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 minutes a day.
At least.
That sounds achievable.
I think so.
Are there any tools or apps that you'd recommend?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There are some fantastic pronunciation apps out there.
Like what?
Well, there's Elsa Speak.
Elsa Speak?
That one gives you personalized feedback on your pronunciation.
That's cool.
And then there's Forvo.
Forvo.
Okay. That's a great resource if you want to hear how native speakers from different places pronounce specific words.
That's really useful.
It is.
And then there's Youglish.
Youglish, yeah.
What's that one like?
So with Youglish, you can see and hear words being used in real videos.
Oh, so it's like seeing them in context.
Exactly. It's great for getting a feel for how words are actually used.
I like that.
I think those are all really helpful tools.
They sound it.
Good.
So we've covered a lot today.
Yeah.
We've talked about the common pronunciation challenges.
Yeah.
We've given you a step-by-step guide.
Uh-huh.
We've shared some practical exercises.
Right.
And we've even talked about how to sound more natural and confident.
Hopefully it's been useful.
I think it has.
Good.
So just to quickly recap.
Okay.
The key takeaways.
Yeah.
Spend time practicing those difficult sounds.
Uh-huh.
Use the shadowing technique.
Yeah.
Record yourself speaking.
Definitely.
And consider using the phonetic alphabet.
All great tips.
And don't forget those tongue twisters, reading aloud, and regular shadowing practice.
Points are essential.
And remember, contraction.
It's important.
Rhythm and intonation.
Yes.
And smiling.
Smile.
Okay, so here's a challenge for you.
Okay.
Our listeners.
Yeah.
For the next 7 days, we want you to try using the shadowing technique.
Oh, yeah.
Every day.
Every day?
Even if it's just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Listen to a native speaker.
Okay.
And try to copy them exactly.
I love it.
It's such a great way to train your ear and really understand the natural flow of English.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay. That brings us to the end of this deep dive.
Wow. Time flies.
It does.
When you're having fun.
It does, yeah.
And learning.
And learning, that's the key.
It is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For joining us on the Duo Dialogues.
It's been a pleasure.
We really hope
that
you found this episode helpful.
Yeah.
And that you can use these techniques to improve your English pronunciation.
We're rooting for you.
We are.
Go out there and practice. Practice, practice, practice.
That's the key.
And remember, we'll be back with more episodes.
Oh, yeah.
In the future.
Definitely.
So be sure to subscribe.
And hit that notification bell.
So you don't miss them.
We can't wait to see you again.
I can't. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.